I'm Spence Graham with Real Digital Media, a Stratacash company, and chairman of the Digital Signage Federation, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Hello, I'm Murphy Daly, an AV veteran, and I'm joining you on the AV Life podcast.
Hi, this is James King. I'm the writer of the IT and AV column for the Higher Ed Digital Magazine, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hey, I'm Renee Benson at AV Renee KC, and you are listening to and watching the AV Life.
My name is Joe Way with Higher Ed AV Media Group, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert. You are watching and listening to the AV Life. Well, Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome to 2021. I'm very hopeful that this is going to be a great year for everybody. As I said in my little recording, this is going to be a year of hope, and my hope is, really strong this year. So, welcome back to the crew. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Good.
Yeah. Joe Way, glad to have you on.
It's good to be here. This is my sense of normal. When I messaged you last, or was it just today, or was it yesterday? I don't know when I messaged
yesterday
you.
And today.
And I was like, is the recording happening? Because I need to be there.
That was yesterday. Yeah.
Jones,
good to have you back. Yeah.
Good to be back. Good to be back.
I'm so glad to be here too, because it's good to be surrounded by people who get it, people who are going to talk about it, and people who care.
Yes, we all care. Yes, and we care about all of you as well, and you too, Murphy. Like that's there were some tweets going back and forth, and so we are the hashtag AV family. So yes, we are here. And Renee, how are you?
I'm great. Yeah, I've been on a little bit of a hiatus since I went and saw my son in Alabama for a week and a half. Now I'm in Florida visiting my brother for a week. I'll be in Wyoming next week visiting my sister. So I'm doing all sorts of travel on my
good Lord
on my time off.
Pandemic? What pandemic?
Yeah, exactly.
I just
stay at home so you don't run into Renee.
Yeah. I will say though that I flew the Sunday after Christmas, and it was jam packed at every airport I was at. Jam packed. I was like, who said nobody is traveling? Didn't sit in this line at the Atlanta airport.
Well, when JetBlue has one-way fares for like $39, it's like, well, yeah, you're gonna go places. There are people that are gonna do it. So, and
I've been kind of cheating and doing it the whole pandemic anyway, going down and seeing my son anyway. So it's like, and I've already
part of your bubble.
It's a really large bubble.
Long bubble. The path of the plane.
Yeah. It's very safe how they board you. You're spaced apart and only so many can be on the jet bridge at a time. And then in 30 minutes, you're all on this little plane. So it's
holding your breath for the next 5 hours.
The pandemic doesn't live 30,000 feet in the air.
That's right.
The air's too thin. It doesn't
like when you're at a bar, but you have food. It doesn't exist if you have food. Only if you have a beer. It exists.
Well,
add food, it doesn't exist.
Well, I saw a meme the other day of it was juxtaposing the social distancing at the check-in counters and the ticket counters where everybody is 6 feet apart, and then the next picture was you're sitting there like this, next to six people across. So it's it makes you wonder. I mean, this whole social distancing thing.
Yeah,
nobody's perfect.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because we're getting more students back in the spring. Not nearly as many as we were hoping for, but there are going to be in-person classes happening. So we were checking our 6 feet loops in the classrooms and watching seating counts crash. So like, yeah, I got a 300 seat lecture hall. Yay, I could fit 60 people in it.
Yep.
But you know what? If it's all in the name of getting people back in class and keeping everybody healthy, I'm in. So I don't waver on that too much. And that's because that's really just, I want everyone to be healthy. You know, that's what we need to be focused on right now. Um, so yeah, so we're back, and it's gonna be an exciting year. I think we've got some new stuff coming up, and it's like a new segment, which actually I'm gonna segue right into that first. We're gonna be we want to highlight some AV professionals that are out there. We're gonna bring in somebody every week, and we're going to spotlight them. We're gonna do an AV professional spotlight, have them on the show, have them as a special guest crew member, and have them join in on all the fun, and they give them a chance to talk about the things that they're doing, and that way they can, the rest of the AV world can find out about what they're doing, and we can really have that exposure for that person. So come to look for that in the next week or so, as soon as we can get some people on and get that going. So that we're really excited for that. And thank you to James and to Joe for your guidance and leading us into that direction. So thank you guys.
You're welcome.
I think that's
Of
great.
course.
Yeah. So
It's so important because we have so many great professionals in this industry, and it a lot of times for us that make the podcast circuit and all that, it can start to seem very small, but with such a huge industry that impacts so many different parts of life, from home resi to our higher ed to, digital signage to, travel, hospitality, corporate, all of these things that when we have the same 200 or 300 of us that seem to kind of gather around the socials, it's really easy to kind of think that we're kind of we're bubbled into that. And so I think this is a great idea you have, to be able to now spotlight those who are really the power behind our industry, right? And maybe don't always get that recognition because they're not the voice out there. And why aren't they the voice out there? Because they're too busy doing the work that we're not doing while we're on here, just blabbing away.
Excellent.
Exactly.
I mean, AV people are used to being in the background, stage crew, booths, all that stuff. And we need to bring them to the light. There are tons of rock stars out there. And like Joe said, you see the top people who are, the squeaky wheel, who are making voice, but there are tons out there who just sit back and who are awesome and who need to be shown the light sometime, or not shown the light, but have the light shine on them. Sorry.
There you go.
Yes.
Yeah, we got to do our time in the backstage and get on that spotlight and turn it on them, and so that's what we're going to do. And we're going to also, I want to take a minute to thank the 64,000 people that came out and checked out the higheredav.com website. I know, Joe, it blew my mind when you put that out there. I was like, that's
seriously thought there was like a period missing, or okay, there's something is wrong here. There's like a decimal point or something that's supposed to be in here. 64,000 unique people, checked out and you ready for this? Here's a scary, this, you want to get, I'm going to pull this up so that, because I'm putting together the actual media kit.
We're getting live analytics as
You're
we
getting live analytics. Okay. 755,000 page views last month.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that means that they're coming to the site and they're checking out
they're checking out a lot.
Pages.
It's basically 80%, 78% of the people who come, or people who come check out 78% of the content that's there.
That's amazing.
That's great.
Well, Joe, it's time for you to say what the website is.
That would be higheredav.com.
And you could find all your information as far as higher ed and also AV professional stuff that's going on there. You could check out our sponsors. You could check out James's article. There's the AV Life podcast is there, as we always say. There's Joe's podcast. There's It's Joe's Joe has their spot as well. And now the companion Twitter account, it's Mike's Mike. That has also come along.
Just might get its own thing as well. So
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, sorry. Joe just put all these stats inside of
Oh,
our chat right now.
wow.
And the average
Cool.
time that somebody spends on the site now is 24 minutes, which is almost like an entire, it
Yeah,
could be
that
like part of an episode or
Yeah.
but they're
that
spending
means
time. Yeah.
they're reading the stuff and they're reading
Yeah.
more than one, which is fantastic. I think a lot of it had to do with changing the format from the first two
Yes.
months
Mm-hmm.
and then
Yeah.
changing it to kind of the interactive, the interactive page and all that stuff. So I think that definitely helped, and you can see it off the numbers. So
Yes.
fantastic.
Definitely.
And huge thank you to all of our sponsors as well. We love you.
Yes.
Yes.
And also, if you are interested in sponsoring, we are open for sponsors as well. So if you
Indeed.
want to get in on the action, reach out and touch someone. Whoops, I shouldn't have. Oh well.
That'll be an
Yeah,
H.
love
I think
That'll
that's already
send
been
you to HR.
taken.
There's a Title IX violation waiting to happen.
Well, and also a trademark violation. So, oops, sorry about that. Maybe I'll edit that one out. So, um, but and also, I'll transition into that too before we move on to the PM Medit. We're gonna take that, and also what came out today is the registration link for the HETMA conference. So, and Joe, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I'm just here to promote. Like,
Oh,
this
well,
is
you know what?
perfect.
You have all the information, so
I
I'm just gonna.
feel so at home right now doing all of this self promotion. But this isn't self promotion. This is like AV promotion. HETMA, of course, is having our spring virtual conference. February 9th to 11th. Go to hetma.org, scroll down, you'll see the link there. I'd tell you what it is, but it's actually like 674, the capital J, 6, whatever. But I won't say that. But just go to hetma.org, you'll see it there. And register. We're stoked about this. We're theming each day. So we're doing Tuesday through Friday. We're theming a leadership day, a tech day, and then from there, what is the last day? We're having like consultants and a design day. That's
Design
what
day.
I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
that was it.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be fantastic. So go check that out. Register. Registration is out. And of course, if you're interested in sponsoring, we would love to have you sponsor. And of course, while you're there, go to producingworship.com and buy my book.
Okay, well there we go. Now we get. Was that it, Joe? Was there?
Yeah.
was there
That's it.
anything? Okay, just want to make sure that was everything. So
The full gamut.
the full gambit, yeah, everything's there. So so yeah, so there are a lot of exciting stuff already for 2021. So then this is all good things, and also the HETMA conference. It's still going to have all the stuff that you've come to love over the last ones that we've done. You know, you're gonna have all those wonderful networking opportunities and the live chat that everybody loves. So you know, nothing in that respect is changing. So so yeah, definitely register today. Or by the time you hear this, it's Monday. So after you're done listening to this podcast, go out and register. Don't wait till the last minute. So, so all right, well there we go. That I think that took care of all of my my pre podcast promotions that needed to be put out there. So
Old business.
yes, that's old. Yeah, old business. So on to current and new business and the PM Minute with Murphy.
Minutes. Hey, everybody. So, a little PM speak, PMI, and people talk about matrixed organizations. And doesn't that sound cool? We got Neo up there, and he's gonna do the fancy bend and not get hit by stuff, right? But in the world of PM, matrixed means you share. All the people that are going to do the work really belong to somebody else. So you're not in charge. You don't have anybody dedicated to you in a matrixed organization. And what I am, there you go. What I wanted to say about that, that is one reason why it is really important to pay attention to the people on your team and make sure that you hear them. I did my usual 2-minute visit my 2-minute greeting that I do every day today. And today was about listening to people. And people really need to feel heard if they are experiencing, like, I have something to say and they can't be heard. They can barely hear you while that's throbbing in their brain. And if you have somebody that every time they see you, they're like, oh, I have a thing to say, or this was misunderstood, or I'm not being heard, they can't listen to you. And you're already sharing that person's attention with all the other people who give that person something to do. So as a project manager, I really have to make sure that I hear that person and understand their perspective. I have to know what they need to tell me, and they have to know that I respect and hear them, even if I disagree. Especially if I disagree, I have to hear them, and I have to keep that communication clean. I have to listen, and I have to pay attention to know what it is they need to say. So that's really critical in a project management environment, which seems to always be matrix. It's so funny. People say, what do you do in a matrixed organization? I'm like, are there any time that you have a person dedicated to you? I've never been that lucky. So um, you have to pay attention to that. And also, let's do what I always do. This is true everywhere in life. If you're having trouble communicating with someone, shut up and listen and hear what they have to say, and ask and probe and make sure that communications are clean so that you can all get on the train together, the train to where you want to go.
I was gonna say that's something
So good.
yeah, that's perfect, Murphy. Thank you. And and I think one of the important parts of that is that, they call it, I think it's active listening is what they call it.
Mhm.
And it's being able to ask the questions that get you to the next answer. It's almost like a leading question.
Mhm.
It's not just, how's your day? It's like, well, it's good. It's like that's a one word answer. It's like it needs to be,
Mm,
tell me about your day,
yeah.
Hmm.
which then
Okay.
leads into the next. So it's knowing that next question, which is actually not a higher ed thing that I learned. I learned that from a different job. So I'm not going to go down that road. But,
You mean you
but
got
yeah,
So
educated somewhere else? Okay.
hey, I
what?
know,
No,
surprisingly.
you learned everything from Rutgers. Don't you know how this works? But hey, Murphy, I actually you brought up something. I have a good question for you. See, hey, how long did it take till I took over your show, Tim? But here's the thing.
He's
So
back.
you brought something up. So the way we work at USC is we have an EPMO department, right? So when I
Mhm.
have a major project, I am assigned a project manager to work over that. So rather than being part of my team. So what advice do you have? And this is one of those things that, and by the way, they're all fantastic. Okay. There's nothing wrong with any of the people, but the hardest part is teaching them what my reality is, like you know what does that, I don't know if that makes sense or not,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
saying, okay, here's the parts, here's what it means to work with this vendor, here's our stand, like, so how can we as like tech managers then, work with the PMs better, who maybe don't have so I like they don't know my craft, right? If I had a PM who was an AV PM on my team, that would be very different. They'd know my day ins and outs. These PMs come in and they're straight business, right? Which is great because that's exactly what we need because we're AV people. And I've already rambled on for 2.5 minutes. And if there isn't someone to bring us back, then you get where I'm
Well,
going.
yeah, and that's I had to go ahead, Murphy. Go.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh, we lost you, Murphy.
Hello.
There
We've
you are.
got
There you
we've got you and the project manager. You're like, PMO, I need blah, 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 I need really fast, and I got and all the things that you need. And the PMO is like, okay, gumball machine says Mary. So Mary pops out, and Mary's your project manager. And she's like, and she's got her kit of things, and you've got your thing going. Isn't that exactly what I'm talking about? You've got your grind of things that you need to be heard, and she's got her set of things and she needs to be heard. And you both need to give each other some information for each of you to be successful. So coming in together to talk about the project, step one, and let me tell you, I have not always been good at this. This is new learning, right? Step one is make sure that you understand what they're hearing when you say to them, when you're talking to them. Say, okay, what do you need? And then once they tell you, they're in that space where they can hear you. But if you come in and go, okay, you're gonna need to know this, you're gonna need to do this, and I gotta go, bye. They're like, I had all these things that I needed to tell you, and my ears were stuffed up with that. So they didn't even hear what you said. So both of you aren't getting what you want.
So I guess another part of that is that the project manager also needs to be humble to the point that they need to be willing to accept that they don't know everything about the project as well.
I think most project managers are, and they do know that they need that, but um, Joe, you asked about what technology managers could do. So I'm saying come to the thing, ask the project manager what they need from you, listen, reflect back to them what it is you're going to do to support what they need, then ask what you need to ask and tell them, okay, this is how mechanic this is how the equipment works. This is how it's going to be when we do this. This is what it's going to be with the facilities, and these are the things you're going to need to know so that you can be successful. And then both of you, it may take longer than you think. Give it enough time so that you don't have to waste time later with dropped information.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I have a harder time with my facilities project managers than I do with my IT project managers, because at least the IT guys have a better understanding of what I'm trying to get at, but the facilities
Are you
guys and they're
saying that IT is kind of like AV?
well, there is
so what I'm getting from this whole conversation is almost like what I mentioned in my November article of processing to understand and not to respond. And I mean, that's a hard thing to pick up, especially when you're listening, because you always want to respond. Even if you, like Murphy, you were saying, you got so much you want to say, but to actually hear what the person is saying to you and process it, and you want the same thing in return. And so that's what I'm getting from this.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
sometimes listening is the hardest job for people, especially people that want to, take charge of a project or feel like they kind of know exactly what they want. Sometimes that listening that you mentioned is harder than you think, but very important, a very key piece.
One key thing that I always have found is you can usually look around the room and see where the pained look is and ask a question is what's on your mind?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's just called being a good manager. I mean, if you see somebody in pain, they got something to say. I will guarantee it.
I had one professor who was brilliant at that. It was a biology class, and he would actually be able to scan the room and know that there was one student who didn't understand the subject, and he would just stay on that subject until the whole class understood it.
Mm-hmm. God bless him.
Yeah. That's we need more professors that are like that
And
sometimes,
also,
I think.
sometimes the pained look that you're talking about, Spence, can be, I am disengaging and not going to pay attention to this anymore.
Exactly.
That's just like,
I would much rather deal with that pain now than let that fester until, it has gotten to the point to where it's an infection.
Yep.
Have you found that that's different now that we're hybrid and like virtual world? Because in a conference room, it's easy to see the person who's kind of tuning out or they're checking their email or there. But now we all multitask while we're on our meetings and stuff, right? Because the notifications are going off. Like, how do you now manage that team member when it's hard to engage a group virtually, right?
Well, I still think you have to. You've got a screen in front of you. You've got faces in front of you. They're responsible to you, and you're responsible to them. I think you have to. If you see them starting to fiddle around with their phones or something like that, that's when the old teacher comes in and says, hey, Joe, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, the unfortunate part is now we also have a camera mute button. So, the ones that tend to flake out and shut off their cameras and you don't know what they're doing, but every once in a while they chime in with their own 2 cents. So you lose those visual cues.
So if there's the critical path of an activity that needs to happen and there's a person on that path, say, okay, Raphael is over there and he's the guy that needs to do this deliverable. Raphael, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. Here's the date, here's the time, here's the information. Do you understand it? Yeah. Okay, Raphael, I want to make sure that you're successful. Is there anything else I can help you with? Do you understand? Do you want to? And I'll say, will you repeat back to me what it is that you need to do? Well, I get it. No, I really need you to repeat back to me and push it to get that response. And then he'll respond and he'll say, great. you do understand. I'll be checking in at the end of it, and this is going to be great. But if he didn't, usually if they're resisting like that, there's something they're concerned about. Like, well, I really don't think I'll be able to get access to that part of the building. Now we're talking.
Well, that's the operative, one of the two operative words in project management is management, and you're having to drag that out. And if you see that, like I say, ask it now, because I will guarantee you it's going to be a problem if everybody's not singing on that same sheet of music.
And let me tell you, every Raphael I've ever had has been such a great worker.
Yeah.
Flat out. Like, there's something about the name Raphael that just means great worker. It does.
Yeah, I had a guy at FDU that worked in IT, and he was me and him did a lot of projects together, and he was great guy. So
yeah, I was thinking particularly of this one guy that I had to work with, and he was amazing. I miss him. I should text him.
As I say, there's usually a reason that a name sticks in your head like that, and there you go.
Really good or really bad.
Yeah, one way or the other. So
yeah, and I would have to ask him. We did this one project that went on for like 6 weeks, and it was night work, and I met with him at the beginning of the shift at like 7 p.m. and then again at 3 in the morning. It was the same thing, but I'm like, I know this is tedious, but I need to tell you, and I need you to repeat back, especially since it's night work and we're grindingly tired. So repeat it back to me so I know what you need. As I know you got it. He's like, okay, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, good. But it took like the first time, like, I really need you to do this. And then by the end, we were so tight. I didn't have to push anything. And he called me whenever he needed anything. And we developed that trust because he knew that I was very honed in on what he needed and I was being kind, and we got it done. And it wasn't longer than 6 weeks. So there you go.
Yeah.
It's killer.
All right. Well, actually, that's actually really good that we talked about the PM minute, and because part of being a project manager is being able to plan, and it's something also for even just managers and supervisors and AV professionals everywhere. And for those of us that are in higher ed, 'tis the season to plan for budgets and to plan for the summer. So I'm going to throw this out to the group, because not only is it just higher ed, but we're in an environment right now where there's a lot of unknowns still, as now the vaccine's getting rolled out, and we're, little by little, like little normal things are coming in. So how do you plan for the summer? Like, how do you plan for budgets or even an unknown budget as far as getting ready for something coming up 6 months, a year from now, that now that we're starting a new year? Like, so what are some of the priorities that you have to put into it? So, I'm going to go right to Joe Way first, because I feel like you have a little more insight, and I'm going to give it to you before you take it from me anyhow. So
see, now you're getting wise. There, you just,
it's a good host. I'm learning. It took me a couple months, but I'm getting there.
There you go. Oh boy, this is a tough one. All right. So here's the thing. Like, we talked about this a little bit before we hit record. Like, we have a very interesting way of doing our budgeting, and it's that we are project-based budget. So I propose all the projects I want to do, and whatever is approved, then the appropriate budget is allocated to cover that project. I tell you, that makes my life easy. The hard part is now figuring out what is the true reality. Like, so for example, right now we're in COVID. We know that we have a budget deficit from, operations. So where am I going to say, okay, what's going to be important? How can I push the university forward? What's likely to get approved and not approved? Where do you look like you're just being a jerk because, you're $100 million in the hole and you're asking for all these other cool things. But yet you also, in our roles, we also have to think about the experience, right? The student experience. We know that investing in the student experience improves the entire university, which in the end ends up bringing more tuition, which brings in more enrollment, brings tuition, all those things, And so you're like evaluating those things and then going, okay, well, what dollar amount does that equal to? Right. And I think that's a lot of the hardest part. And as we start looking into summer now, the good thing is I propose in October and I get my answer. You ready for this? You're going to hate me for this. Okay. Actually, I'm going to turn it around. See, you said to take it over. How long do you think it takes for me to get my answer from when I propose my budget?
So this would be for the upcoming. So like,
Yeah.
are
So
you question for you in return? Are you a July to June?
we were July to June.
Just all right. That's what I assume. Just want to make sure with higher ed that we're all like doing that. All right. So if you're proposing in October, May 31st.
April.
When I leave,
I say November.
when I leave the meeting, they will tell me at that meeting, they sign it and transfer it within the week.
Wow. Yeah, no, that doesn't, we're not that efficient.
Because it's project based. So once it's done, so I get my money in November so that I can spend the beginning of the year lining it up, reaching out to my vendors, making sure that I get stock before everybody else. You know, I mean, how was I able to do my huge 300 room upgrade last summer? Because
Right.
I had my order in January. Right. So everyone else is searching for everything, like, and especially when COVID hit. And I'm like, yeah, it's all, remember the picture I put up of the stock room? I was Crestron West for a while. I had it months before anybody else did.
So
I love this system.
is it, so that's a USC system, or is that a Joe Way system that came with him from?
This actually is a USC system.
Okay.
This was not my find. I walked into this and went, dang, that's rad.
Yeah.
You know, but I get, again, going back to kind of the whole point though, is like, it's okay. So now I know that I have a unique system, but that doesn't change operations. Operations still needs a budget. You still have things that will break that you don't plan on and all those things. And so I think the key is understanding your customer, right? And my customer being my users. What types of things are going in? What is their use? How are they going to use and abuse? And then send that, you know, appropriately, you know. And I think then, especially when you look at COVID, going, hey, this year we're going to do 300 projectors, right? That was this year's project coming up. All right, well, do I really need that, knowing that the rooms have been empty for a year and a half, right? The warranty is up, but do I really need to do it? And that's where you can start to budget, go, my users haven't been using it, so where can I now value engineer and go, all right, don't give me 300, but give me budget for 50, because, well, our warranty is up and there are going to have 50 who are going to die. So I'm going to have to replace them. But then maybe we can come back next year and then figure out, we'll do the other 250 or whatever that is. Right.
Yeah, I will say I've seen a cost savings in not having anybody in my classrooms that I haven't had to change a lamp in like a year and a half at this point, because we usually do them during the summer. So we didn't do this last summer, so it was the summer before that. So that's been nice, not with the few lamp based projectors that we still have out there. So yeah, that's so thank you, Joe. James, what about over at Stockton? You got some not insider information, but what do you think are some priorities for what you guys got going on?
It's hard right now. We used to plan, like right now I would be already know what I'm doing in the summer. But since COVID hit, it's been really challenging. Like I don't know what I'm doing this summer. So it's gonna be, I'm planning for everything and nothing. So it's a little hard to be knowing what's going on. I do ask and I get directions of what's going on, but like I do know, like Joe said, higher ed is hurting right now. Money is going out. We're bleeding. Every university is bleeding money. I mean, if you don't have students in the rooms, you don't have students in your dorms, that's money you're wasting. And so it's also, I think from a business stance, like how can we be financial smart with our decisions? Like Joe said, am I going to go drop, let's say a typical classroom is 10 grand for nuts and bolts, everything. Am I going to drop 10 grand to upgrade a classroom if no one's going to be in it? Like that's not financially wise to do for the university. So it's a balancing act. And right now it's, when I get asked to do projects, I want to be on a point where I can go, okay, this is what we need to do. So a lot of the pre-planning I'm already doing. This way, when my supervisors go, hey, we came across this budget, what can we do? I can say, here, work's already done. Now let's get the quotes on the street type deal.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that's the best way. I think that's a good way of doing it, And I think that's something that some people need to keep in mind is that, you need to ask, like, at this point, like, because right now, yes, a lot of us are still remote, but come September, I mean, we could be back. I mean, that's my view, and I know Joe shares this. I still think we are going to be back by September. We are going to maybe not necessarily 100%. We're gonna be pretty close to it. I think because by the time vaccines roll out and where people are starting to be healthy again, and are we going to be
Hospitals
exactly?
empty out a little bit.
What was that, Murphy?
When the hospitals empty out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, yeah, with a little less strain on the healthcare systems. Yeah, that'd be great too. So, yeah, I think we're going to be there.
I'm a little more doom and gloom. I don't know. I don't know about September. I unfortunately I don't know, because I mean, like you said, we got to ask. And as anyone who's following me on Twitter knows, right now, my goal for 2021 is to get my CTS. So I put my toe in the water with my boss, and I asked, would Stockton be willing to pay for me to take the exam? And he said he'll ask. And then he came back and he's like, we're not sure. Right now, there's a hold on professional development budget. So, I mean, they're even putting, that's something they used to put money aside that is dedicated to employees, and they beg people to get educated and professional development because they have that money sitting there. And now they're like, we don't know.
See, I'm the complete opposite. Like, to me right now, what I'm doing this spring is I'm getting Avixen, and we're going to do the CTSD for my entire staff. Wow. And do the courses because, well, there's no one on campus for at least the spring. Why don't I at least improve my people?
Right.
While, what are they going to run circles around? So let's invest in that, but it's also interesting, and I'm so good at taking over shows. I'm interested in Spence and Renee's answer on this.
Actually, that's where I was going.
Yeah,
because I was going to Renee next.
Here's the thing. On AV and the AM, one of the questions this last week was kind of about recovery and all this. And we're talking, we don't, James, you said you're not optimistic about September. Tim and I are thinking September. But higher ed is the worst vertical to ask about this because we've been investing all along. As soon as hybrid went, we went and threw money at cameras and microphones. We're the ones who have been supporting the industry. Well, from a manufacturer, either digital signage or displays or whatever, what are you seeing other verticals? Like, isn't that it's the other verticals? It's the consumer market or where the other consumer spending is going, hospitality. Aren't they the ones that are going to tell us when we're coming back and not us who've been investing all along? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Renee.
Well, that's interesting too, because you're right. You guys have been investing and moving forward with projects and that sort of thing. But yeah, I feel like that retail space has still been busy. The hospital sector, medical facilities are still putting in tons of digital signage. So that's been keeping manufacturers busy. I think it will be interesting to see. I think there's a lot of retailers that have been putting in signage, even for drive up. We're putting in drive up signage for, restaurants that aren't open for indoor dining. So
and I saw at digital signage, which is really funny, at the grocery store, we all have to be distant, right? And so there's like this long line of checkouts that I can't see. And they've now put up a digital sign saying, this is the station that's open. Go into line 4.
Yep.
Like,
wow.
That's cool.
I think it's very much associated with specific verticals. I can say for higher ed, I think there's a lot of pent up demand there that we see. One of the challenges that I know that we have experienced is that, when we go back to project management, when we're sitting there talking to higher ed institutions, some of the stuff that we do, we have to be able to, before we can put the contract finalized, we have to get on campus to take a look at the room, to find out where the network drops are, to find out where the power is, to find out where the windows are, to find out what their seating thoughts are, so that we can put our costs together before we can come to a day to sign a contract. And that's been difficult when, you have everybody's tail wagging saying, yes, we want this thing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't finish the contract, that doesn't count. And that is a frustration from that standpoint, because it's not that we couldn't get there, whether or not the company would let us fly, but it's also a fact about the matter is, can we get onto that campus? Because each campus has their own criteria as far as access to people that aren't Rutgers, people that aren't USC, that type of thing. So there's a challenge there for that, but I do think a lot of it is dependent upon the vertical as well.
So Renee, I've actually
do a lot of on the corporate side, some of the corporations that had projects that went completely just stop sign, either canceled or just on hold, that are starting to come back. So that to me was a indicator that, okay, so they believe that within the next 3 to 6 months, they're going to have people back in those offices. I'd like to stay on the optimistic side and say you guys are good with September. I pray for that. But
well, I do too. But here's the other thing too. I think that a barometer is going to be somewhat these trade shows, because higher ed. When I was there at WVU, it was, you always planned all year long for the Digital Signage Expo, for UB Tech, things like that, and
it'll be
interesting. And now from being on the other side of the equation now, we're jonesing for getting back to having you all come to a trade show to see product, to talk to us about your projects there. And, that is really, that's going to be a key, I think, in a lot of ways, as to what that barometer is going to be, as far as when we get back to, whether it's 50%, whether it's 80%, whether it's 100%. I don't know that we can be back at 100% this year or not. I think that's a stretch. I can tell you from a Digital Signage Federation standpoint, we have we've had a very, very active board that we saw some things coming even prior to COVID, that we kind of started making some contingency plans that we have enacted, and we have basically remade our modus operandi of how we do things, and we're going to survive. But we're looking at regional events as opposed to some of these more grand annual events there, to where we can try and stir something up that we can manage in a little, given the environment that we're in. It's just a different world right now.
It is. There's so many factors that too, when we do get back to going to shows, it's going to be, what are you personally ready to travel? Is your company feel comfortable putting?
How many are they going to let you take?
Right. And again, I think the regional shows are going to be a big hit this year, because I don't think you guys are the only ones talking about it, because there are certain parts of the country, for example, where I'm at, that aren't as locked down, and there are some little regional shows. Some of my resellers are doing little regional tabletop shows and allowing a handful in at a time, doing whatever, cleaning, and then another group comes in, and so
there's speed dating.
Like speed dating, and it's a lot smaller scale, but there's a lot of them that are not sending their people to Infocom, and if they do, it's going to be.
And I think you're going to see. I think you're going to see some convergence with various organizations and groups that will sit there and say, okay, look, we can't all do this on a grand scale, but let's you and I and so get together, and we're going to put together some education, or we're going to put together a day or a 2-day type of gig here, to where we do some speed dating types. I think you're going to see the operative word is hybrid. I think hybrid is going to be the name of the game for a long time.
I was gonna say, and I'd love to partner with like some vendors to do that, but unfortunately right now, like at Rutgers, like I'm not allowed to have anybody from the outside come on right
That's
now.
my point, and that kills us. So that's what I'm saying. There's
'Cause I
two
would do-
sides to this equation.
Right. I would do a small, because we've done it before. Like I've
Mhm.
partnered with Epson, and we've done a small training at Rutgers, and we invited everybody from New Jersey, and people came down or up, or depending on where you were coming from in Jersey. But I can't do that right now. So it has to be off site, which already then that it makes it complicated, because I shouldn't be going to an off-site training either.
I was just going to say, what's the
So-
liability involved with you going off-site? Are they going to cover you?
Yeah. Are you
Right.
allowed to? Are you allowed to go somewhere? Like with me, right before. Well, I guess it was beginning of December. Feels like yesterday. I
Mhm.
went off and visited UNLV. Yeah, we're technically closed, but again, part of one of our projects is to do an esports arena. They just opened one, so I was allowed to go in order to site visit in order for me to do my work. Right. So are you able to do that? And vice versa. I think, okay, you go Infocom or ISE. I mean, they're both supposed to be in June. Um, at what point do we say, where do you balance it? Is it safe versus it's important for our business to move forward to actually participate? And my guess, and I don't really know too much about this, is that if they're wise, both of those shows will do a hybrid version themselves and say, if you can make it great, if you can't, here's the live stream.
Mhm.
Right. The same thing we were all asking for years,
Yeah.
that thing they're actually going to do because they might not have an option. I don't know.
See,
Since we're tying this into higher ed, having it be available on the live stream is how we're doing education now. So people should be able to get the content that way.
Mhm.
Well, I can say this also um, from some of the manufacturers and vendors that I know very well. Their budgets are cut to the bone right now too. They are no different than anybody else, and I'm saying that from some of the biggest names in the industry, that they are in the same situation. And where a group or an organization could go to get a sponsor
Mhm.
or to go get somebody to partner with, let me tell you something, that's starting to become like trying to pull hen's teeth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I wanted to say is like, I mean, I understand USC. I don't know how Rutgers is, but I mean, I go back to the whole thing in financial sense is you have little integrator companies who are shutting their doors. You have mom and pop shops who are closing down, restaurants, bars, everything who are closing their doors finally. Businesses are hurting. So even if, say, there is a trade show, like, does it make financial sense to pay for an employee to go to a trade show to see what's out there, which is great. I mean, you definitely got to see what's out there and learn, but couldn't that money be spent wiser in elsewhere in the business? And I'm not just talking about higher ed, but any business.
I'm curious. Is now what if you were a manufacturer? Where are your dollars better spent now? Because you don't have a say in Infocom where you get everyone around on earth shows up in one place and you go, here, I've got my resellers, I've got my integrators, I've got my end users. Where are you throwing those dollars? Is it better to go straight to end customer right now? Or is it still good to feed your channel partners, knowing that the money's going to come later through those projects?
I would think that they're trying to staunch the bleeding right now. I think that they're cutting back on staffs. They're letting people go.
Mhm.
They are no different than anybody else at this point. And I truly think, and I hate to say it, but when you go to some of these conferences and some of these trade shows, those front row booths, that's $500,000 for 3 days. Easy.
Mhm.
Easy.
We
Then
need
it goes
Right.
down a little bit as you go to the back of the room. However, that's a big commitment from somebody.
And I think some of the companies are reinvesting. We had Chris Neto on a couple weeks ago, Joe, as you know, and for people that were listening, and if you haven't, go back and take a listen to it. And he was talking about that. They're still buying meals for customers. They're just doing it differently. So I think there might be some reinvestment in the customer, just not in the way that it used to be normally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And they're having to refigure it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we need to learn from other industries. Sterren would be great at this. We need a Warby Parker kind of AV experience. Send 3 devices that people can try and they mail back 2 of them that they don't need,
Mm-hmm.
Especially if they say, look, we need a certain amount. We know we're going to need this amount. Give us a few so we can put it in the lab and try it out, which sounds like it'd be cheaper on both parties' sides.
Well, let me tell you, I've asked for that over the years, and the manufacturers that do it usually get my business because they've decided to invest and do that, but they're few and far between. That's the other part.
What, to get demos?
I have trouble getting them sometimes.
Well, here's the thing. I switched my entire display line to from one to another because I had a great manufacturer partner who sent me everything I requested.
Yeah.
And, there we go, and I think that, and even it was during a time of COVID, right? And I think that says a lot depending on who, but it all comes down to the people. Right.
Yes.
I mean, it's not always just the company. And the company makes the product, and the product has to be good enough to buy. But it comes down to those who take the time to invest in the relationships right now. And I think that as we come out of this, that's what we're going to see is all those. And this is what we've been talking about as an industry for years. Why do you go to Infocom, ISC, regional trade shows? To see the junk? Sorry, every manufacturer, I don't go to see your junk. I go to meet your people, to see other colleagues, and to build relationships, because from the relationship, I'll get sent the junk. Right. And then I can see how it works. And we can once you get to know me, now you know which junk to send me, right? What's going to fit my problems. Right. And that, is the important part of it. So when you now cut all of that off, the people who are going to be successful later are the ones who invested in that relationship before. Because you see everyone running now, and I know this, and every end user is getting email after email after email of introduction stuff. We always did, but now it's 20 times more. Don't introduce yourself off an email. But tell you what, if it comes in and says, and it's from somebody who I actually already built a relationship with, and they already know my needs, that's why they should have been doing it all along. And those are the people who are now getting my business.
So, I mean, I agree with Joe. Relationship is key. And I have very strong relationship both with manufacturers and dealers. And this kind of goes with the whole thing that we were talking with Scott Tyner earlier. But just talking about the relationship, we don't want to do away with either of them, because like the one manufacturer, if I ask for a demo of something, I'm getting a demo. They're awesome about giving me a demo. And they came down one time and they were really pushing this one product, and the whole tech set it up, and he was like, look at this, and he had it going great. I was like, this is a great meeting. I go, let me have it for a week. And he did. He broke it down, gave it to me. He goes, all right, I'll see you in a week. I ran it in our environment and actually was very honest with him. I told him I did not like it. But now they made changes and went off of that. Now, other side is, there was a manufacturer who relationship wasn't there, or no, I couldn't get a demo. I was talking with one of my dealers. I'm like, hey, I really would like to try out this product. I can't get a demo of it. My dealer, who had a relationship with the manufacturer, tried to get a demo. He couldn't get the demo. So what he did, he bought it, then sent it to me as a demo. And he's like, we'll work out the money if you guys decide it. If not, they're eating the costs. Again, that goes back with the relationship. to have where he knew it was something I really wanted to test. And the normal channels there with the demo wasn't there. So he made it a demo for me.
And let me tell you, having that relationship also, like you get some reps who are very candid about their products too. Sometimes you get the real information that's in there.
Yep.
So I will say that you get that rep that'll be like, well, to be completely honest, especially when you have that like connection with them that you've built. That's the relationship is key, I think.
I also think that it goes back to what Daly was saying earlier about communicating. Is look, we're all in this together, whether you're an end user, whether you're a vendor, whether you're a sales manager and salesman, or whether a salesperson, or you are a manager in EDU. You have got to have that conversation because everybody is hurting. Like I say, this is an equation, and there's an equal sign there for a reason in every equation. And I think that everybody has to take into account where everybody's coming from. But I do think that it starts with the communication, because I think we're in a very new world. And the more of a relationship you build with each other, that's when somebody can say, can you let me borrow this? Just think of it, if it was your equipment, your personal, would you be willing to loan it out for a period of time there? So, I mean, I think you want to encourage those new relationships too.
Yeah.
And what's so funny that we're having this conversation, because I've been on like speed dating interviews for 2 weeks. And the position that I'm probably going to take, without saying too much, I know a little bit about their product line because it's more extensive than I've worked with in the past. They want me for the relationships I have in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm literally being interviewed about my relationships that I can bring, and I can learn the technology. They aren't even worried that I've never heard of this company that they sell.
They're getting you for your Rolodex.
Right.
For those who know.
So funny how that all comes around, and I just think that's interesting that we're having that conversation, because that's what I've been asked about mostly is my relationships. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So speaking of networking opportunities and things like that, let me just take a quick poll of the 6 of us that are on this. Who thinks InfoComm is happening this year in person? About 50%. Okay. Oh, nope.
I don't know.
Perfect. Okay.
I think, well, here's the thing.
Well, everything's legal in Florida. So
exactly. That's the point, is where is it at? It's happening in Florida. Now, will it be the InfoComm that we all know and love? That I don't think so. I think it's going to be a hybrid version. I think you're going to get smaller booths, but I think you're still going to get those who are going to be there. Like, no matter what. I mean, even if my travel budget were cut and all this stuff, I'm still going. All right. It doesn't matter. I'm going to find a way there.
If I go, I'm driving. So if anyone needs a road trip, James, if you want to ride along,
so we can pull Chris Netta.
There you go.
We're planning on being there with some education programs. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, and that's it. It's gonna happen. What it ends up looking like, we don't know. But events are already happening in Florida, so we're not waiting for events to happen. They're already happening, and so that's why I really think that it will. I just
that's a good point.
Wonder, what it will look like. That's the question. Not whether or not it's going to happen, but what will it look like?
That's a very great point there. I mean, like I said, I wasn't very optimistic, but great point there. Like Florida, they're opening their doors, so why couldn't they have InfoComm there? Now, with people going there, that's a whole different thing.
Or will they be allowed to go? That's a key question.
I'm just gonna walk around the sales floor like this everywhere I go, and so
you can do that, but you better. You can do that, but you better still bro hug me.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
When I see you, I will come. I will come running. I will. That GIF of the friends where he knocks you over. That will be me. That will be me with everyone I see on the floor. I missed you.
Yep.
I'm a hugger on a normal day, let alone a year of not seeing anybody. But
well, my hope is by June I'm gonna have the vaccine. So that'll
Uh,
also make me feel a little bit better.
Myself and my team are next in line.
Nice.
So yeah, because we're considered essential workers on campus.
You're
So
kidding,
we
that's
got
great.
So I
we
put
got
it.
the
Yeah, and
email that we're.
I put my name in on the list here in New Jersey. You can go online. For those who are listening in New Jersey, go to the website, go to nj.gov, find the COVID-19, and there is a list that you can get yourself on. There's a couple questionnaires. So I'm doing my little part to plug that here. So I did that, and so I'm just waiting to be told, okay, let's go. So
Yeah. I personally, I mean, I think that's great. I'm actually not signing up because I feel there are people who need to get that vaccine before someone like me, my age, my health, and I don't want even the slightest chance of me getting above one of those might be slim. I don't want to take that chance. I'd rather make sure all the people in the nursing homes, make sure like my mom, who's not in a nursing home, but she doesn't drive, she doesn't travel, she needs it before someone like me. That's why I'll wait until it's more to the masses. Let the people who need
All
it
right.
first.
All right, I'm gonna come in. I'm coming in with this. This should have been our firing range.
Oh boy.
Here's the thing.
we could go right into it. So
my staff said the same thing when I got the email, and it actually just came a few days ago saying you were next in line because we're considered essential. And and I had a number say, message me privately and go, I would much rather give up my space in line for other people. Awesome thing to do. However, look at our roles as tech managers. We connect with student body, faculty, upper administration. The faculty are typically older, upper administration typically older, students who are very social and can be, and go spread it. We are a central point where by knocking us out of the mix, it decreases the risk of us becoming a super spreader throughout a lot of different demographics.
And I agree with that as well, Joe, because I'm the one that, I want to get it. And I respect that as well, James, that you want to wait. But like I am on campus, I'm there. I have interactions with my parents who cannot get out to go get the vaccine right now. And there's no setup here in New Jersey for those that are homebound. So, and I'm the one that's out there getting exposed. My parents are home. They're not going anywhere. My dad's been doing home delivery and getting all that stuff. And the home health aides that they get, they've gotten theirs. They were their phase one. So they got theirs. So as far as I'm concerned, even though they're older, I need to get on that list and get done as fast as I can.
Well, I am old. I am old.
No, you're not, Spence.
No, you're not.
And I have an even older mother. And but no, I'm for all the home games. I mix audio for basketball and football games, even wrestling on the weekends. This is on the weekends, of course, but you're around student athletes who are out there exerting themselves and perspiring, and they're coming into the same rooms that you're in and sitting in the same seats where you're getting ready to mix audio. And I'm like you, James. While I would like my mom to get it beforehand, I'd like to make sure I had it because I think I'm being exposed potentially at a higher degree to where I'll take something to her. That type of thing. So it is a strange world we are in right now to have to think about these types of conversations.
I have another reason I'm on the side of everybody get it as soon as possible, because the system of getting everyone a vaccine, if you say line them up, stab them, put them through. If you say, but wait, you just wasted a whole day's work for these people to get you your shot. So get them out, get them done, go, go, go. That's why. Just everybody as possible.
Well,
line them
we
up.
even have a drive-through. Whenever we do this, we have to be tested. They have a drive-through lane. They stick that thing in your nose through the car window.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is maybe I'm uneducated about
the vaccine.
maybe I'm a little uneducated about the vaccine and stuff, but my understanding is you still carry it. You just don't get sick. So even if you have the vaccine, you're not getting sick, but you're still carrying it. You're still bringing it home. You're still spreading it to people who don't have it.
Yeah, you're getting
Yeah,
you're getting
no.
the antibodies so you don't get it. So
Don't
you
get
will
sick.
No.
by blood you would have it, but
But no. I'm just saying.
That's not
I'm
how
just
it
saying.
Yeah,
My
no,
understanding
it's
is
not like a piece of toilet paper that sticks on your shoe and you carry it around with you. I
no,
mean,
no,
like
no.
this like
I've been told it's
Well,
killed
no. This
your body.
vaccine, the
You're getting
vaccine,
antibody.
the vaccine is different than the normal vaccines where they give you like the flu, where they give you a small dose of the flu so you can fight it. This is not how that vaccine is built. My understanding is built a whole different new way. I don't know the ins and out of it. I
So
just know it's supposed to be different.
this is what I have read and understand. And of course, I'm not a scientist, but the vaccine carries with it a packet of food. And it's that particular kind of protein that's unique to that vaccine,
Yeah.
unique to that virus.
Mhm.
So when that vaccine enters, it always brings this bag of food. And that is what the vaccine is attacking, is that bag of food.
Yeah.
Anything that has that bag of food, that kind of protein, gets attacked. So it's not the antibody to the virus, it's the message to your system, go attack anything that has this.
Okay.
So when
if
if the virus comes into you, and it will
Yeah.
come with this backpack of food,
Yeah.
your body is like, kill it.
Okay. All right. So it wasn't, see, like the way I understood it was if you got back the vaccine, was you were protected from getting sick, but
Mhm.
not protected from being a carrier. Like that's the way I understood it, but sounds like it's not that this
And
vaccine is almost killing the virus.
well, as the one doctor in this group.
oh my
Oh God.
let-
wow, all right, we're pulling the
I think there's
doctor
no more
card now. I
plugs
see how
left.
it
No.
is.
We'll pull
I'm
one
not a
more
doctor,
plug
but I'll
left.
take a look.
oh
Leave it
yeah,
to
forgot.
Joe.
Wrong kind of doctor. That's right. Never mind.
He thought he did all the shameless plugs early. Oh no. Here comes-
Excuse me, Dr. Joe Way. Okay.
Well, so also the other thing is when a person gets the vaccine, there may be items in one's body that have that little protein.
Yeah.
And so your body may like get what amounts to a hay fever type reaction.
Yeah.
So people get sick, but it's not, they can have this sensation. They don't have the virus, and it's not gonna, it's, I mean, worst case scenario, you get anaphylactic shock and people do what it takes. That generally
Yeah.
speaking does not kill you because you're being watched. But there were a couple people, especially in my home state of Alaska, that got this and had an issue, but it's not the virus. So
Yes, I knew it wasn't the virus. And like I said, I'm not saying that the vaccine is giving you the virus. Like I said, my understanding, which could be completely wrong, I'll admit, because I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor like Joe Way,
oh,
but
yeah.
my understanding was if you got vaccinated, you could still pick up the virus from like you can normally, you just wouldn't get sick. So you're still a carrier. So you were still bringing home, and the person who is not vaccinated at home could get sick. But I could be wrong.
I think that's negative.
Okay, like I said, that was my understanding. I could be wrong there.
And I guess that just shows that the CDC needs to do a better job of marketing the vaccine to everybody.
Educating the
Yeah.
Do
public.
you think we'll ever have to quit washing our hands?
No, we should never
should
stop.
never-
Just never
That
stop
should
washing
never
your
been a-
hands.
Well, hold on now. There
I'm
was
still
a
waiting
time
for
where
them to tell me I can take a shower.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, okay. I guess we don't have to necessarily, get our hands like super dry and callousy anymore, but you should always wash your hands. PSA. So all right, cool. Well, wow, that definitely took on a life of its own there.
That was
As it
fun.
always
There's your
does.
firing line for the
There's
week.
our fire. It's like we were going
Hey,
to talk
you
about.
learn something new every day. I
Yeah, we
learned.
were going to talk about like eating icicles is what we were going to talk about, but I think this was way more entertaining.
we didn't argue about this though. There was no winning side, unless I win because I'm a doctor.
Well, it was.
I'd say Murphy won because she seems to be the most knowledgeable.
Joe, I've missed you.
Murphy was on my team.
But we didn't tell Grandma, so we gotta get Joe.
Well, actually, getting the vaccine saves Grandma. 'cause-
Well,
Hey,
this is true.
Oh, look at
I
that.
knew
We'll
Grandma
cut
would take
Grandma
it
some
for you.
slack for 1 week.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow. So yeah, I don't even know if we're about an hour and 10 minutes in. I mean, should we release the?
I think we did firing line.
I think we
Yeah.
did the firing range. Yeah.
I
Oh
think we did.
wow,
Pew, pew.
wow, Joe.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Grandma likes that fruit pop.
Touch on it, my friends. Let's just touch on it. Don't eat yellow snow.
Don't
Yeah,
of course.
no.
Pew, pew.
The short of it is
I still want to know what a snow flea is.
no. Yeah.
Bullshit. Excuse me, did I cuss? Oh my gosh. We're gonna have to.
You know what? I'm gonna stand by. I ate icicles as a kid. Go ahead, eat the icicles. You know.
Hey, when I was a kid, they told us not to eat the snow, period, because this was back in the early 60s because of the
Acid snow.
nuclear. No, they were nuclear testing in the atmosphere.
Oh.
And they told us not to eat the snow because obviously it's
fallout.
precipitation of the fallout.
Tommy.
Yep. That was true in the early 60s.
Kind of.
So Joe, and also I don't know if I need to comment on the fact that Grandma has a creamsicle.
You know, it's the best that Google could come up with.
Well, Google. I don't even know how to go
No,
with
that's
that.
just not right.
No, not right.
Save Grandma
What
so she can
Google?
have the creamsicle.
Oh gosh.
No, you gotta change it.
Joe Way is back.
I think we've
Joe's
lost Renee.
back.
Yeah, Renee's going down real quick now.
Joe Way is back.
Well, when he moves just right, all I see is junk.
Oh my. Okay.
Oh,
Creating the
All right, yeah.
Well, there went another show.
I think that's how we're gonna end.
I've
this.
done my
Yeah, I
job
think you're
here.
right.
Yeah, so Joe
Better
has
end.
done his job.
I would yank the plug now.
Oh boy.
This is good. We're gonna release everybody out and save everybody from the rest of this. So, thank you to the crew. You know, this is great. Thank you, Joe, for being back, and you didn't totally take over the show, so it's okay. I still felt like I had control tonight.
No, you didn't.
A little bit of control.
At least I apologized every time before I took over.
That
Yeah.
counts.
More. Oh, never mind. I'm just gonna stop right there. Never mind. So, Spence, thank you very much. As
It's
always,
good
pleasure
being
to
with
have you.
everybody as always. There, this is therapeutic as
Yes.
well.
I needed this tonight, so thank you for that, Renee. Glad to have you back, and congratulations for a soon to be announced.
Yes,
launcher.
thanks for getting us back together. I've been on a lot of Zoom and Teams calls the last couple of weeks. This has definitely been the funnest. But yeah, in the next couple of weeks, I should be able to announce where I'm going to land, and I'll be putting it all over Twitter land. But thanks for getting us back together. You can catch me on Twitter at AVKCRenee.
Well, Murphy, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here. I had a good time. And you can find me at Written by Murphy. I'm on Twitter. Gosh, it's on everything. So you can find me on LinkedIn and everywhere. So, and please reach out. I'd love to talk to anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, definitely find Renee, find Murphy. Sorry, Renee Murphy, and reach out to. I'm totally lost at this point.
We're usually
So it's-
chatting. So
You
you
want
can
a
just go.
creamsicle, apparently.
Oh, Joe, let me give you the moment. Where can people find you, Joe?
Oh,
If they don't know at this point, though, I don't know how else to help them.
I know. You know.
So go ahead.
All right, I'm going to say two things. One, they can find me at Josiah Way on, of course, all the socials and Higher Ed AV and all the socials and all that stuff. But more than that, look, we're in 2021. Let's make this different than 2020. Go love one another. Find someone, especially go back to that the professional spotlight you're going to be doing. Find someone who you admire in this industry right now. Send them a text and just say, hey, I appreciate all you're doing. It's up to us to make 2021 different than 2020.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Oh, and Spence, I don't know if you want to let people know where they can find you too, unless you want to just stay hidden somewhere.
I am still at WVUSWG on Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn and it's always been good being here with good friends every week.
No, thank you very much. And James King, last but certainly not least.
Joe kind of took what I was going to say. Going back with that whole spotlight thing is definitely reach out and, like Joe said, let's be better. We are better. We don't. We should not be falling into our norms. Let's promote and let's give these AV rock stars out there some voice. Let's the ones who are quiet, the ones who feel they're alone. We're here with you, AV family. We're here to support you. You can find me out on Twitter, AV_James King, or swing by the Higher Ed AV digital magazine, and I got the IT and AV column.
Well, thank you, James. And yeah, I'm your host, Tim Van Wert, at the AV Life Pod, also at T Van Wert on Twitter. You can find me on all the socials as well. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. I'm all out there. You may need to request me on some of them, but if I know you, I will accept you. So, but yes, also if you do know an AV professional and it needs a little bit of a spotlight shined on them, and reach out to us, DM us, let us know who they are, what you think they've been doing, and we'll get them on here. We'll put the spotlight on them for an hour and 10 minutes, hour and a half, depending. Maybe if you're lucky, it'll be a 2-hour marathon. Yeah.
Oh.
That is not lucky.
You just say that because you only stick to about an hour, Joe. So, some of us are built for the marathon. So, so yeah, thank you to my crew. Thank you to everyone out there for listening. And I will reiterate, what has been said and what I've said. 2021, we have hope. Let's keep that. Be kind to each other. Let's embrace each other. Let's get through this. Like there's the light at the end of the tunnel. I see it. Let's get there. Let's get there together as a family, not just an AV family, but as a global family. Let's get there. And I know we can do it. I know in our hearts that we can all do that together. So until our next adventure,